Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's been a long week already. All right. We are continuing our discussion of the Olivet Discourse, obviously. We have been focused on the argument that Matthew chapter 25 must be referring to the end of time, the end of the current Christian age. And I've pointed out to you repeatedly, and this is so critically important. The entire argument that, for instance, the parable of the man who went into a far country and who gave talents to his servants before he left, and he stayed, or he came back after a long time, pardon me, the entire argument there that must refer to our future is based upon the claim, the view, that in Matthew 24:36, Jesus changed the subject from a discussion of AD 70 to a discussion of the end of the world. Well, that in turn is based upon the assumption that when Jesus predicted the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 2, that the apostles ignorantly confused the coming of the Lord and the end of the age with the fall of the temple. You see, folks, listen. There is not a presupposition, there is not an assumption in all of the subject of eschatology that is more fundamental to its paradigm than the claim that the apostles were confused, that the apostles were wrong to conflate the doctrine and the reality of the destruction of Jerusalem with the coming of the Lord and the end of the age. If that basic assumption and claim is false, then the disciples were right. They were right to conflate, to join together, to link in their minds, in their doctrine, the coming of the Lord, the end of the age, and the destruction of Jerusalem. Don't forget, I've written a book on this very issue, Watching for the Parousia, where Jesus' apostles confused. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a wealth, literally a wealth of information to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the apostles were not confused. Okay, if the apostles were not confused, if they were not ignorant, if they were not wrong to link and to join the doctrine of the destruction of Jerusalem and the end of the age, then guess what? That means the coming of the Lord and the end of the age really was to be in AD 70. And it means that all futurist views, based upon that assumption of their confusion, it is all futurist eschatologies that are confused. It's not the apostles at all. So, we have been examining what Jesus said in Mark 13, 32, 33, and of course, Matthew 24, 36. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels, not even the Son, but the Father only. But watch and pray, for you do not know the time in which the Master shall return. See, this is the absent master motif that I've been sharing with you. And it is so incredibly important. But you see, the opponents of covenant eschatology and all futurists, they say, well, the absent master motif proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is talking about the end of the world, because Jesus said, you don't know the time. Well, as I've shared with you over a couple of videos, that claim, okay, Jesus did not know the day or the hour of his coming. He did not know the time, the kairos, the appointed time of his coming while he was here on earth. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. Jesus promised that he was going to go away and that in his place, pardon me, in his place, the Holy Spirit would be sent. The Holy Spirit would inspire the apostles into all truth, teach them about the judgment to come, show them things to come. It is therefore completely anachronistic. It's taking it out of its proper time context to say, if Jesus didn't know when he was going to return, then the apostles could not know it, when in the epistles they said the coming of the Lord was at hand. They could not know that, we are told. Well, if the apostles did not have the Holy Spirit to guide them into all truth, to teach them about the judgment to come, and to teach them about things to come, then that argument would be true. But as we saw yesterday, we have a lot of passages, but we have Revelation 1:1-3. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God, that's the Father, who knew the day and the hour. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him to show to his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Okay, that brings us to where we are this morning, because as I stated, attempts, I might say desperate attempts, to avoid the temporal imminence of this passage are really amazing. We are told that when John was told these things must shortly take place, all that was being said was, look, John, the Father revealed to Jesus to tell the churches that you don't know, you don't have any idea when these things will take place. But I can assure you that when they finally, who knows when, but finally come to pass, they're going to take place with utter alacrity, with utter rapidity of action. Listen, that's really one of the worst arguments that anyone could make, as far as I'm concerned. And let me illustrate that with an illustration that I've given over the years. Let's imagine that you discover your house is on fire. You call 911. My house is on fire. My house is on fire. And the dispatcher says, the fireman will be there rapidly, or they'll be there shortly. And you stand outside and you watch your house burn to the ground, and there is no fire truck. There are no firemen. Years and years and years and years later, after you have finally rebuilt, by the way, I've gone through all this. Yeah, I had a house fire. You're sitting on your porch, and you hear a siren, and you look up. Firemen never came before, but you look up. Here comes a fire truck just blazing down the street, and it pulls into your driveway with brakes screeching, horns blaring, sirens blaring. They jump out of the truck, and they say, "We're here, we're here." And you're going, "What?" "Well, you called and said you had a house fire." "I did, but that was years ago. And the dispatcher said you were coming shortly." And the fireman goes, "Oh, no, you don't understand. The dispatcher wasn't saying we were coming soon. No. The dispatcher was saying that, hey, when we finally got around to coming, which is today, when we finally got around to coming, man, we were going to drive 100 miles an hour. We're here." You see how ludicrous that is? So we are supposed to believe that John, writing to the 7 churches who are being persecuted, who are crying out, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, do you not avenge us on those who dwell on the earth?" Lord, how long? Not how rapidly, how long? I would suggest to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the emphasis on rapidity of action versus imminence of action is an absolute false dichotomy. It is in reality one of the worst arguments that one could possibly make. It is an argumentum ad absurdum, an argument that is absurd, and it is an argumentum ad desperatum. It is an argument from desperation, because if John was being told, and he was, 2,000 years ago, that the fulfillment of the revelation which the Father was giving him was truly imminently to be fulfilled, then all futurist eschatologies are false. It's that simple. And yet we are told, no, the Greek here that is used, these things must shortly come to pass, that's from the Greek term in takai. And this term only appears, this specific term only appears about 7 times in the New Testament. Now, since I'm running out of time today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to postpone until next week a linguistic analysis of the Greek term in takai. We're going to be looking at every one of the 7 occurrences of that term. Let me give them to you very, very quickly. Number 1, Luke 18, verse 8. Number 2, Acts 12, verse 7. Number 3, Acts 22, verse 8. Number 4, Acts 25, verse 4. Number 5, Romans 16, 20. Number 6, Revelation 1, verse 1. And Revelation 22 and verse 6. Now, read those texts between now and Monday very carefully. Look at the context. Was the writer, was the Holy Spirit sent by the Father, who knew the day and the hour of the coming of the Lord? Was the Father telling those churches, I'm not going to tell you when the Lord's coming. You do not know when I will send him. But I just want to assure you that when I finally get around to sending my Son, I'm going to make him ride on the fastest cloud in the heavens. So don't worry about when. Just worry about rapidity. Let me say again, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's an absolutely horrid and unjustified argument. And we'll demonstrate that next week. In the meantime, do not forget, tomorrow we will continue our review and our response to Mr. Kenneth Pope's book, Thinking About AD 70. We will continue our discussion and examination of his arguments in which he claims that Deuteronomy chapter 32 is not a prediction of AD 70. You don't want to miss it. There's good stuff to be seen here. So I'll see you on the flip side.